So lie on your backs. Today we're going to be doing a lesson I call Grace and Effort. And as you lie there, just begin to notice, what does the word grace in terms of you and your movement and your body evoke in you? When was the last time you felt graceful? Think of a graceful image. Maybe it's somebody dancing, or ballet, or gymnastics. Dolphins in the water. What is a graceful image to you? And then come back to your sensations right here in this room, and how you're lying on the floor, feeling the weight of your body. How much of your body, how much of your weight can you let go into the floor? How much of you is really being supported? Notice the parts of your body that really just drop into the floor. And notice the parts of your body that are lifting away slightly. The parts that are still ready to go to the next thing, the next appointment, the next errand, the next client. So feel those parts of your body that are a little lifted away, and notice if it's more or less so on one side or the other. Compare the back of your right and left shoulder blades. Feel your low back on the right and the left, how it curves away from the floor a little bit. Is one side lifted a little higher than the other side? Feel the weight of your buttocks, the right and the left. Each of your legs, the backs of your heels. And try not to change anything, but just notice how you're breathing. It's hard not to change something once we bring our attention to it. But just let the breath come in and out. And what parts of your body know that you're breathing? Because the breath fills your lungs. The diaphragm is drawn down into your lower abdomen. And the act of breathing has the potential of creating movement. Movement in your abdomen, movement in your chest, your ribs, even sometimes your shoulders and hips. So how far through yourself can you feel the breath influencing movement? And is there more movement in your chest or in your abdomen? Place one hand on your lower abdomen, just below your belly button, and one hand up on your chest, around your sternum. And just breathing in and out. Which hand moves up and down more? And then breathe a couple times, intentionally not letting your lower abdomen move, but really lifting your chest up and down as you inhale and exhale. And then soften your chest. Don't necessarily restrict it, but keep it quieter and really breathe as though the breath is expanding your lower abdomen below your belly button. Pretend for a moment as though you have a balloon inside your pelvis. And as you breathe in, the air fills up that balloon, and your lower abdomen comes outward, but the breath also fills into your sides and the front side of your low back, your sacral area. And as you breathe out, the balloon deflates. And just feel the possibility of breathing that way more in your everyday life. And then roll yourself onto your side, please, and you can choose whichever side you'd like to roll onto. And if you need a little support under your head, you can put a little support under your head. What I'd like is for your elbows to be bent at 90 degrees and your top arm resting on your bottom arm. So you're palm to palm. Palm to palm. Elbows, if they're able to rest on each other, they are. And your top leg is resting on your bottom leg so that your knees, your hips are bent at about 90 degrees and your knees are bent at about 90 degrees. Good. And just notice your breathing in this configuration. What's different about feeling the movement of breath when you're lying on your side? Elbows are bent. Your fingertips are sort of pointing up towards the wall above your head. And just gently begin sliding your top hand on your bottom hand. So you're sliding it up towards the wall above your head. And back down. And just feel the texture of your hand sliding on your other hand. How often do you really take the time to feel your own self, to touch and feel what your hand feels like? It's like walking through a clothing store. I don't know if men do this as much as women, but we as women, we shop with our fingers. We reach out and we touch the fabrics. You do that? So just touch your own hand. Feel the quality of your touch. So one hand is doing the touching and feeling, and the other hand is feeling how the other hand touches it as it slides across. And then your hand slides off your hand, and then you feel the texture of your floor or your mat or whatever your hand touches next. And then expand your attention as you slide your hand up and down with what's sliding. Your arm is sliding. So where in your awareness of yourself does that arm begin? So just begin at the hand. Can you bring your attention up to your elbow, your shoulder? If you take your attention further into yourself, what's going on as your arm and hand slide? What's going on in your shoulder blade? You may even feel something in your ribs or your spine even, maybe even your neck. And then next time your hand is resting on your other palm, just pause there for a moment. And then begin sliding down. So your hand, your elbow is going to come down towards your knee, and your hand is going to slide along your lower forearm down towards your elbow, and that's probably far enough. And just feel the mechanics. Feel the mechanics of sliding your arm down, your elbow towards your knee, as well as the textures. Can you feel both the sensations in your hand and your arms, as well as the sensations of what's moving? Your shoulder joint, your shoulder blade across your ribs. Is there any movement happening in your ribs? And just keep moving your hand up and down, just continually feeling what that movement feels like. You're exploring it as if you're an alien from a different planet, and you snuck into this person's body and you're trying to figure out what this human body feels like. I think I read a series of books like that to my boys when they were younger. What does this particular human feel like? Does it feel different than the last human you were in last week? Because today, you're experiencing different thoughts, different emotions, different sensations in your body, and your body may feel different to you than it did last week. It may feel like somebody else's body. It might feel like you're possessed by an alien when you get a pain attack. And then just rest your arm and roll onto your backs, please. And from this first set of very simple movements, begin to notice, is anything changing in how you feel yourself on the floor? Does your right arm feel different than your left arm? Okay, so just feeling any differences from these little movements. So what are we training? Are we training our bodies? Are we training movement? Are we really training our brains and our nervous system to re-engage in sensation? And not just any sensation. Most of my clients have re-engaged, unfortunately, in painful sensations. But how do we re-engage in learning how to make pleasurable sensations? How to feel how well our bodies can work for us if we just tune in and feel. If we invite them into moving slowly and comfortably, instead of disciplining them to doing the right thing, according to whom? So again, roll onto the same side, please. Same configuration. Elbows together, palms together, everything coming out of the body at about 90 degrees. And now bring your attention to your top leg. And just slightly, there's going to be a little more friction with the weight of your leg, but begin to slide your knee up just a little towards your elbow and back down. Doing that several times, beginning to experience that movement in your leg. What are the sensations that your lower legs feel as they brush across each other? What if you had the finesse of sensation for your feet and your legs to experience each other the way your hands did? And notice how you're breathing as you do this movement. It's a little more challenging, a little more weight in your leg than your arms. So where is the breath now with each movement? Do you tend to want to bring the knee up on the inhalation or the exhalation? Feel what happens low in your abdomen. What if the movement were to start from that place in your abdomen? You were to really engage in your lower belly, and somehow that awareness and that sensation could organize the rest of your leg to draw your knee towards your elbow. And then just rest your leg for a moment. And listen. You're working a little harder with your leg. Are you taking care of yourself? Know that at any point in any lesson, you can rest. You don't have to wait until I say rest. These aren't necessarily physically challenging or cardiovascularly challenging, but we are challenging your brain to pay attention to yourself, to feel, to recognize when you're doing too much, to recognize when you stopped feeling how you feel and you've started just mechanically doing following the instructions like a good student. Surely somebody taught you that long ago. My desire is to undo that for you, so that you become a good student only to yourself and how you take care of your own self, your own body, your own sensations. Because when you take care of yourself, then you have something to give someone else, not at the sacrifice of yourself. So then begin sliding your knee away from your elbow, feeling that motion. Feeling your knee lengthen. It's going to straighten out a little bit. It goes away from your trunk. What else is happening? What happens in your pelvis, in your low back, in your spine, as you slide your whole leg down and away from your trunk? And again, what about your breathing? And then next time you slide your leg down, just keep going down, down, and maybe back and back, and see if your leg can help you just roll onto your back for a rest. Nice, very nice. Just rest for a moment. And feel, compare your right arm and your left arm, your right leg and your left leg. Feel the weight of each limb, the length. Does one feel somehow softer or fuller? And again, notice your breathing. Notice the effects of your breathing on movement in your chest and ribs. Can you sense breathing into your back? Your lungs don't just lift the ribs in the front of you, but the ribs in the side of you, along your back. And again, imagine that balloon, that three-dimensional balloon down in your lower abdomen, filling with air and emptying with air. To all sides, up and down into your pelvic floor. What's it like to give yourself permission to feel down there? And then keeping your breath full, keeping it as a background of everything we do today. Roll back onto your sides, please. Same side. Same configuration. And just gently begin sliding your elbow and your knee just a little towards each other and a little away from each other. So they come together and they go apart. So there's what's happening with the elbow and knee, and there's what's happening with the arm and the leg, and what's happening with the pelvis and the shoulders. What's happening in between? How is the leg and the arm somehow being connected through your trunk? Is your whole body helping to bring your knee and elbow together, or are they two separate acts? The arm moves and the leg moves. But somehow the middle of you, it doesn't have to be conscious that they're connected through it. And again, how are you breathing? Where is the breath in your belly now? Is it higher in your chest? Is it even fuller in your belly? How can your breath be a part of this movement? And notice also the top side of you is moving. It is your mobility side for this portion of the lesson. But the part of you that's lying on the floor is your stability side. So as your elbow and knee come towards each other and away from each other, bring some attention to how your lower side is providing the stability and the support. How do you use the floor to make the movement easier, lighter, more graceful? And as you bring your knee and elbow towards each other, do you want to roll your trunk a little forward or a little back? And as you draw them away from each other, are you more inclined to roll forwards or backwards? And each time you take your elbow and knee away from each other, take them a little farther so that your hand begins to reach up over your head and your leg begins to lengthen down behind your pelvis. So they almost begin reaching and stretching as though they're going behind you. So see if you can feel that inclination to begin to roll towards your back. And you come together and it just draws you back fully on your side. And then you unfold and you open and you roll towards your back. You may not roll all the way onto your back, but you begin to open more and more fully towards your back. Lengthening your hand and your arm up and over your head, beginning to take it up and out to the side that it's connected to. Reaching your leg behind you. And feeling your breath in the background. Folding and unfolding. Contracting and relaxing. Inhaling and exhaling. And just intentionally continue growing the movement until eventually you do unfold yourselves onto your backs. And just as easily and gracefully can you fold yourself back onto your side. How do you open to the floor behind you and fold into the floor on your side? And if you have the range available in your shoulder, just keep your fingertips just brushing along the floor the whole time. If that's too much for your shoulder and arm, just let them raise up into the air. So you're making a big arc, like you're drawing a rainbow over the top of your head with your hand and fingertips. And where does your head and eyes go? Where do your head and eyes go? Can you let them just follow your fingertips? Does that change the movement if you look up and you watch your hand going up and over and around versus just keeping your head forward? Try both. See which one's easier for you, which helps make the movement lighter, softer. And next time you're rolling towards your back, just stay on your back and take a full rest. So much of the time we walk around and really literally, figuratively, we think of our upper body, our arms, our head. And quite separately, we think of our lower body, our legs. And as medicine has progressed and advanced, we've gotten better and better at separating, distinguishing the different parts of the body. And this is an opportunity to experience the sensation of the connection of everything. When we were kids, we were just inspired naturally to wiggle and move and giggle and squirm. And usually at some point in our precious young lives, somebody told us not to, in school or in church, or at a special holiday dinner, to sit still and be good. And we stopped listening to that natural urge to wiggle and squirm and giggle. And we started performing for somebody else's perception of how we should be, instead of our very natural, organic, and authentic way of moving. We come to classes, we get connected, and little by little we begin bringing that sense of connection to ourself and our movement into our everyday lives. And we start changing our interactions. We start choosing better thoughts and better behaviors. Because we want to feel good. We want to wiggle and squirm when we need to wiggle and squirm. Roll on to the same side again, please. And now really let yourself come back to the movement, fully opening each time all the way onto your back if you're able, and just as easily and effortlessly rolling back onto the same side. And keep it light, keep it easy. If where you're at in this experience doesn't easily and lightly roll you onto your back, then don't roll onto your back. But if you are able to roll onto your back, come fully onto your back and pause for a moment, take a breath, and then find, how do I easily roll back onto my side, lazily. There's a subtle difference. One of the things I love to watch in the Olympics is the ice skating. And there's a subtle difference between the grace of somebody who's still efforting to be graceful, who's still trying to be graceful, and the really experienced skaters who've maybe already been through some competitions like this, and the grace just flows out of their center. It's almost a lazy gracefulness, because they don't have to work at it. It just is who they are. So just each time, just breathe yourself into rolling onto your back, lazily, as if lying under a warm sun. You're going to reach for your margarita. And the next time you're on your back, just take your time and figure out from here, how could you easily get onto your other side? And you might not get there the first time. You might sort of make an attempt and realize, oh, I held my breath, I'm efforting, I'm working too hard. So take several tries, 3 or 4 or 5 or however many it takes, to figure out, how can I roll onto my other side? How can I find that quality of ease? And when you finally get onto your other side, just pause there for a moment. Notice how you're breathing on this side, your comfort level on this side. It's interesting because you chose the other side to start with. So why might you have chosen the other side? There may be obvious reasons. Pain on one shoulder, one hip. The side you sleep on. There may be not so obvious reasons that you'll discover as you re-enter the exploration. So now just slowly take your time exploring the opening from this side. Starting with your arm, sliding, feeling, really deepening your sense of how that arm is connected into your shoulder joint, your shoulder blade. How much of your ribs around your shoulder can you feel? What is your spine doing to somehow participate, whether it's through stability or mobility, in letting this arm slide up and down? And what about your head and your eyes? Can you just let them follow your hand as it slides up and slides down? Just let your neck be soft. At what point, how far up do you reach your hand up over your head, maybe even around and back a little bit? At what point do you start to feel it all the way down your spine, as if it's beginning to invite some movement in your pelvis? You might just imagine it. As I throw these ideas out, your body might have no idea what I'm talking about. So you just imagine, I wonder if that's possible. I wonder if someday I'll feel that connection. What will that be like? And then next time your top arm is resting on your bottom arm, just leave it there. And bring your attention first to your breath, first to that center of your breath below the belly button, that balloon inside, filling and emptying. And then extend your awareness down to your top leg, beginning to slide it down and long and back up. And here again, what does the pelvis do? What does your low back do? What does your whole spine want to do as your leg folds up? And how does your whole body want to participate as you unfold and open? And at what point in the movement of your leg, your pelvis, your low back, does your shoulder blade and your shoulder and your ribs begin to realize something's happening down there? I wonder if we can play too. And just as you're ready, begin to let that connection grow so the leg goes down and the arm goes up. And it's as if everything is just opening out of the breath. You breathe and everything expands and everything contracts, unfolding and folding. There's zillions of cells in your body doing this, contracting, relaxing, just pulsing inside of you. And there's something about this movement that brings you into rhythm with that life force inside of you, that life force outside of you. And just keep opening until you find your way onto your back, and then folding again onto your side. Eventually you'll get on your back and you can just keep rolling towards the other side. Little softer. Great. And if it's easy, relatively easy and comfortable for you, can you do it quickly? Can you keep that quality of lightness and just kind of flip yourself from side to side, flip, flop, flip, flop. If not, don't do it. No reason to get all relaxed and soft and strain something. But for some of you, that might feel quite fun. Opening and closing. Opening and closing. Next time you're on your back, just rest. Let your arms down, let your legs down. And just feel how you're breathing now. Do you feel the breath, the pulsation of the breath in more parts of you now? As your lower belly, the ribs in your front and sides and back. Possibly up into your collarbones and shoulders, your neck. Maybe down past the balloon in your pelvis, down into your hip joints. And imagine that breath that's filling the balloon in your pelvis as though you're drawing it in from the top of your head. So you breathe in and you draw it in and down, and it fills up your lower abdomen. And when you exhale, it comes up through your trunk and out the top of your head. I think of it like a fountain cascading out the top of my head. And then I draw it back in and down, out and up. And just stay with this quality, sensation of the breath, the sensation of the whole of yourself. And take your time, roll to your sides, come up to sitting and then standing. And take a few moments once you're standing to really just walk around and feel the sensation. Imagine yourself staying with this quality of being with yourself, and maybe walking into your doctor's office or the grocery store, talking to your boss, making a business call. How can you bring this quality into life? And have a wonderful day.